Bhanu Neupane. Dr. Bhanu Neupane, whom I know for a long time, is from the UNESCO headquarters in Paris. He's a program manager for ICT and the sciences and open access for scientific research. We have been talking about digitalization throughout our discourse here today. And he's the one who is a proponent that ICT can be utilized for developing partnerships and open access. He's also working on open data and artificial intelligence linkages and how to increase access to scientific data and information so that the global challenges like SDG and climate change can be addressed well. He is visiting professor and regularly teaches courses. One of his recent visits was the Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. And he's also an expert in knowledge management, multi-criteria decision-making. And he started in UNESCO with water resource management and disaster risk reduction at some of the even universities. Dr. Bhanu, you are going to now not only talk about your work, but mainly to conclude, because you know the Smart Campus Cloud Network very well. You are the supporter of it right from the beginning and spreading it not only within India, but in South Asia. So we are looking for you to see what kind of messages that we are going to get from all these interventions and the attainment of our goal in this particular movement. Dr. Bhanu, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Raj. It's always a pleasure to come back and start talking about Smart Campus Cloud Network. I remember a long time ago when you visited the headquarters in Paris, and I think the whole idea of Smart Campus Cloud Network originated over a cup of coffee. So from that cup of coffee till now, I think we have spread ourselves across in different continents around the world. And it's indeed a humbling experience for me for being invited to this event today. It's a great opportunity to share my thoughts today, but thanks, Raj, for also entrusting me to summarize the sense of what the previous speakers before me have shared about what role can colleges and campuses play to achieve the noble goal of net zero. As most of the speakers highlighted, it is now a common knowledge that one of the most urgent problems that our world is currently facing is climate change. And climate change has a bearing on all SDGs, which all of you repeated at times. In order to find a solution to this problem, we need to enhance the role of young people and make the universities where they study responsible in leading by example. In this context, a strong commitment such as that demonstrated by the leadership in India, access to quality education that values the sanctity of environment, something that Dr. Sahasrabudhe highlighted, and access to new technology that many of the eminent speakers spoke about, and access to climate data about environment are all of absolute importance. Interesting parallels were drawn by the speakers between net zero and openness and sharing of know-how to create easy-to-flow workflows. Obviously, by reducing their carbon footprints and fostering sustainable practices, campuses can play an important role in achieving net zero emission. Just to give you a few, the takeaway points that I received, that I collected from the eminent speakers' speeches, campuses can indeed reduce their energy consumption by retrofitting their buildings with energy-efficient technologies such as LED illumination, smart thermostat, efficient HVAC systems, and so forth. Because India is in tropical country, I think we try to use a lot of air conditioning. Perhaps that is where we may need to look at primarily to reduce and creating, heat island, that many of these major cities are converting into. Using solar panel, I'm not too sure what is the extent that solar panels are being utilized by the universities. Wind turbine and geothermal systems, campus can indeed generate their own renewable energy resources. Additionally, they can also purchase renewable energy credits to mitigate their energy consumption. I think this is something I thought SCCN could start. They have already started to offset the carbon footprint of some of these energy-intensive practices by offering, this credit, the carbon credits. So I think that maybe somehow be extended for universities as well. Campuses can promote sustainable transportation. I've seen, I used to visit Indian Institute of Science as a young student when I visited IISc for the first time in 1987. The campus didn't even have perhaps 5 cars. These days I go the campuses, the campus at IISc, I find many cars, students driving cars. So I think this is something that the campuses may encourage, such as biking, walking, and public transit. Perhaps the students may get credit of using that. Part of their scholarship could somehow be compensated by providing maybe bus passes and so forth. But I'm not too sure whether that would be possible in India or not. Campus can indeed reduce waste, and I actually witnessed it. Professor Balram, who was the president of IISc, director of IISc, he actually commissioned the creation of one of the most efficient wastewater treatment plan. And I think that wastewater treatment plan, totally designed and commissioned by Indian scientists or those professors at IISc. This system is providing IISc in almost 20 to 30% of its water supply needs. So the other thing the campus can indeed do, and many of the speakers highlighted that the campus can not only educate the students, but also the faculty and also somehow create a system of siphoning this knowledge back to the homes of these students. So they can also do something on engaging the local community and promoting sustainable actions off campus. But the most important issue is to create a network that helps learning from each other. What the key mechanism monitoring these parameters is the most important thing. We have been talking about creating sustainable campuses, but how do we monitor them? How would these 75 university campuses are monitoring their net zero behavior? So I think this is extremely important. So this requires developing strict workflow and identify key determinants to measure success. And I hope SCCN as it advances, perhaps will establish some of these things. The speakers also noted that because of the research experience, scientific equipment, intellectual resources that they possess, universities are in a position that is truly unique and perfectly suited to take the leading role in encouraging openness of climate data. The 75 universities that have joined today have the potential to contribute to better informed and effective responses to the issue of climate change by making climate data widely available and advocating its use. So I think 75, and I'm in fact just taking a rough number. Even if each of these universities have about 20,000, we are in fact looking at almost 15 lakh students, and that is a critical mass that can be utilized to take the SCCN movement forward. So this campuses can indeed use their voice and platforms to advocate at the local level, national, as well as in international level for climate action. For the key issues is that campuses can drive innovation by devising new technologies and solutions to facilitate the transition to a net zero economy. But the question is, how can the 75 universities campaign for change? What local, national, and international levels are needed, or activities are needed for net zero and open data policies and projects? So this is something perhaps, SCCN can think about, coming out of a list of things, that these universities can definitely do. There are also, my only one solution would be, everyone spoke about sustainable development goal, but primarily I thought the sustainable development goal 9, which primarily looks at innovation, and sustainable goal 16, which talks about, improving access to information and committing to openness. I think, these two is slightly, missed out in the presentation, and perhaps, it will be wonderful if SCCN makes its modus operandi inclusive, like SDG 9 as well as goal 16. To conclude, universities play a vital role in fostering net zero future. Universities can make a significant contribution to the sustainability of planet through education, research, community engagement, leadership by example, and for global impact. From our side, Open Solution Program of UNESCO will continue to support this cause and continue to work with SCCN in the days to come. By SCCN, I mean by the family that SCCN, represents, and not only, SCCN as an institution. I sincerely hope that this initiative will reaches our next milestone of not 75 campuses, but will work with 75 countries and perhaps, several hundred, campuses. One of the things, which I was, in fact, when I was listening to your talk, I came across, a gentleman named Abhijit Naskar. He wrote, even in death I shall live. This is something, that he actually has written. And I found this quote, extremely important for this session. He says, and I quote, "If you actually want to tackle climate crisis, then instead of yelling at the politicians like a hysterical Karen and obstructing traffic, educate the masses on clean energy and get involved in startups working on affordable clean energy solution." So I think, this will be an excellent message to SCCN family, but also all the young people that are getting their education in this campuses. So thank you so much, Rajendra, for inviting me, and then also asking me to summarize the messages of eminent speaker. Thank you. Over to you.